Welcome all to the All Nighters 2 podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and with me is my co host, Jack.
Ooh, how groovy.
Yeah, and today we will be discussing the back half of Resident Evil 7. We'll be breaking down interesting themes, thoughts we have on the game, the gameplay, how terrible the ship level is. I mean,
Okay,
in
it's
my
not
opinion,
that bad.
it
It's
is
not
really
that bad.
bad. I remove that level from like my memory when I think about that game because of how much I dislike it. But we can get to it. Last we
That we
left
will.
off, we had just slaughtered Marguerite and gathered the D series arm, right?
Yeah, we got
And
the D series arm and walked back up to the RV and paid a little phone call trip to Zoe, but oh no, sirree, Bob. Instead, we got the
it's
other sibling.
Lucas. I love Lucas. All right, let's talk about Lucas for a little bit because it's pretty clear from notes around in the game that Lucas was fucked even before the infection. Uh, there's one note that you find in his room, the kid's room, where he talks about locking a kid who made fun of him up in the attic and letting him rot away until he smelled. When he was a young kid, like I think it's implied that he was in grade school or whatever, because that's where his junior robotics championship trophies were coming from. So Lucas is already like this unhinged maniac, and Evelyn's mold has just made him doubly so. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we'll work our way around to getting to that portion of the level itself as we talk about the progression getting into Lucas's section of the house.
Yeah.
But just reading those dialogues makes me think Evelyn's only been around for 3 years, I believe, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken.
Yes,
And
three exactly.
Lucas locked somebody up in his attic, and they basically starved and thirsted to death, right? Like
Yeah,
as
they
a
died of
kid.
thirst. I think it's implied. No, Lucas wasn't giving him meals. But yeah, they essentially died, began to stink, and then Lucas said there was no more smell after a while.
Yeah. I'm I'm wondering, like, Jack and Marguerite seem to have been such sweet people beforehand, but did they cover up for their son, or did they simply not know about this in this big house?
So that's the question, right? And I think it's ignorance. Like they chose to be ignorant to what their son was doing. Uh Again, we talk about mold a lot in this game. Mold's a big theme, right? Evelyn controls the black mold, which corrupts the family. There's mold growing in the house. Lucas was their mold a little bit. It was what led to their dysfunctional family to begin with. They let that fester and they didn't do anything about it, right? You can say that they might have known or might not have known. I tend to go either way. Uh, but the point is, that regardless, they did not take any action to deal with it, right? So this mold grew and the family suffered because of it. Uh, I know the game likes is hand waving later on. We're jumping really ahead, but when Jack talks to you as Ethan and he says, "We were all good, even Lucas," or whatever, I think that's him being delusional, genuinely. Like, he's ignoring the problems in his own household. They are kind, they are nice people. Like, we have proof of that, but they
It's
can't
a it
picture their son being like that.
it's a different thing to hold your child in such a high regard, and in a way, I think about this whole thing as we get into this interaction with between Lucas and Zoe in the trailer house
Yeah.
in the backyard. Zoe hasn't necessarily entirely turned
Hmm.
like the rest of her family. She's not under the same control, and it sort of makes you think about if there was so much time and care being poured into Lucas due to his mental and medical stuff,
Yes.
then that means Zoe, by effect, probably got neglected a lot
Yeah.
more.
We talked about that last episode a little bit, right? Zoe shows signs of a little bit of neglect. 100%. Her house, where she stays, she doesn't have a room in the Baker house. She has a trailer that she lives in, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
No,
Now
I'm
you
not. I'm
could.
not sure what it was like beforehand, but definitely like. with
I
the
think in the daughter's DLC, she does have a room. It's been a while since I played banned footage for RE7. Uh, we can touch on that a little bit towards the end because some of the DLC is really cool. Like, what is it? End of Zoe, where you rescue Zoe and you play as Joe, who's the uncle of Zoe, and he beats the shit out of Molded with his bare hands. He's the quintessential Florida man living in no, he's a Louisiana man, a step up from a Florida man. He
you
wrestles gators
know
for breakfast.
exactly. He definitely like wrestles gators in the swamp for just for sport.
100%. Yeah.
I love it. But yes, circling back around to the trailer level, we get the interaction with Lucas. Tell
Mhm.
Basically he's doing this flamboyant act of taunting you and antagonizing you to come get him.
It's
Before you can get
very
oh please.
no, it's very serial killer esque. He's playing on some of those tropes, a little bit like Saw, but less. John Kramer's very sanctimonious in those movies. He's like, "You will appreciate life because of my Saw games." He's like, "Nah, I'm gonna torture you, motherfucker, and I'm gonna have a good time doing it."
Just
He's
a pure
kind of a
sadist.
yeah, he's kind of like a mix of John Kramer and like you throw in some fuck. What am I thinking of?
What, the
Art the
Joker?
not well, the Joker works, but I was gonna think Art the Clown from Terrifier. He doesn't talk, but and that was made after the movie, so maybe not a great touchstone. But he, takes incredible joy in just ripping people open. Uh,
But yeah,
Terrifier's on the mind. Terrifier 3 released recently, and it's actually pretty good. Terrifier 2 and 3, good movies. Terrifier 1, bad movie.
dear viewer, I have not seen a single Terrifier movie, and also as I look at my co-host, I cannot help but lock eyes with his Texas Chainsaw Massacre Bubba poster on his
He's
wall.
right there. Hey, Bubba.
Yeah, I love horror movies, but I like horror games more. Just they're more interactive. And with speaking of interactions, you
Yes.
begin to solve Lucas's elaborate puzzles. Turns out you have to go back into the main house and pay a little trip. The place you were constantly trying to escape, and now you're already back. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And I find it pretty cool. You get to do some like wrap up. Like if you missed some treasure on your way, like you can go visit, grab the steroid upgrade and stuff like that. You can find some treasure that you missed or the magnum rounds near the toilet or whatever. Uh and going back through the house is kind of nice, but it's also I don't know. Compared to when Jack was stalking the halls or when Marguerite was in the old house, it feels anticlimactic, but I think that's on purpose. Lucas can't
It's
harm you directly because he's a weak person, kind of thing, right? He's not physically strong like Jack or Marguerite. What he has instead is his wits, and he just ends up trolling you. Like, it fits really well with his
exactly.
character.
And I think it makes it a nice breath of fresh air from the player because most of horror itself typically has a physical presence and loom over the player. But most of this, feel as though it came out with anticipation because as you work through the house, you have to go down to the basement again, but it's a lot darker this time, and
Yes, the lights
you
are
have to.
off.
The lights are off, and you're going to have to find the snake key down there,
Hmm.
and going upstairs into the parents' bedroom, and finding out that there's a whole secret staircase that just leads
That
down
was cool.
underneath
Yeah.
the bed. Like, and then at the bottom of it was the real anticipation, seeing all those saw blades with gutted deer, venison, and guts all over the floor, as like kind of similar to the beginning of the game when you
Hmm.
enter the
It
old
is
house. But
exactly similar to the beginning of the game, and it shows you that Lucas, because that's Lucas's workshop, right? He's making that, and it's another like common serial killer trope that serial killers will, kill wildlife, right, and maim them in horrific ways. That's what Lucas was doing.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's so visceral. Oh, and also I have to comment also. Speaking of visceral things, the
Mm,
sheriff's body when you go find it, and Lucas is just shoved the snake key down like this guy's throat.
mm,
Just and you have to stick your hand down. It's
yeah.
just it's almost like it's super sick, but it's also sort of comedic with
No,
how
it
just
is. It's a little comedic with how gross it is. I also kind of think for a game that's a little bit like nasty, the way that it treats this poor deputy is like especially mean, I think. Like any
Hmm.
character that's not Ethan Winters gets fucked up, right? 100%.
Yeah.
But any other character that is not Ethan, he's getting treated the worst in like most horror media that I've seen. Like we'll talk about the Clancy tape later where he burns alive, and like there's some DLC as well for Clancy where you play 21 with against Lucas, and it's uh awful torture kind of thing. It's crazy. Or the sewer gator people as well. They get maimed and tortured in really awful ways. Sure, it's off screen, but you find their bodies and they're fucked beyond belief. You know, it adds to that realistic element of this game, and it's why it sets above in horror for me than the other Resident Evil titles. Because the Resident Evil titles, like, sure, you have an RE2, whatever the nice police guy who helps you out. I don't remember him, but he turns
Oh,
into a zombie and you have to shoot him. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, that's sad, right? And it's kind of real, and it sort of puts you in there. But it's not as bad as like the nice police officer who's kind of helping you out, even though he's being a dick and not believing you, gets his head shoveled off, then fully decapitated, then a fucking key shoved down his throat. You know,
Yeah, it's just pure maiming for the sake of maiming and just
there's a
disgust.
level of like meanness to this game that adds to the horror 100%.
Absolutely. And of course, in case you haven't pieced it together, you end up in Lucas's childhood room and you see all these different trophies he's won and
Mm-hmm.
all his elaborate creations. But you've also got the opportunity to read his diary about how he locked the guy up in the attic. And you go up there with the anticipation of what is up
Being a dead
there.
body 100%, right? And that never comes. It's another way that they fuck with you. Another cool thing up there. Did you pick up the toy axe and toy gun?
I did. What? So I did mean to ask, what's with those? Because
I think
I
it's
never
to
used them.
literally waste your inventory space. I
Oh
think
my
it's a
god.
troll. Genuinely, I hold up. I will look it up on the wiki. But I'm 100%. I kept them with me. Toy shotgun RE7.
I don't know. These were two pieces that I just kind of threw in the chest, saying, "Okay, whatever. If I need
Yeah.
this, I'll just run back to the chest and grab it." But I need my space for every single weapon. I need to be an arsenal right now.
Okay, so all right, they apparently are useful. We're just morons. The axe is for the shadow puzzle in the yard. It gets you a stabilizer. Use the model shotgun to get the broken shotgun back and fix it into the M21 shotgun. So you have to use a gun repair kit. The M21 shotgun only holds 2 rounds, but you will notice a huge difference in power. So you get a sawn off if you fix that shotgun.
Oh, because I put the repair kit towards the pistol,
Yeah, what,
the
the 1911 or
44.
whatever?
Yeah, 1911, whatever that is.
Yeah, me too.
Interesting. I wow.
So I guess we're just morons, but it's whatever, you know?
I mean, that's a case of it's sort of a nice little Easter egg, not necessarily Easter egg, but
No, but
secret thing to find for exploring around.
the
I love whenever games do this kind of work where that you have to. I mean, more often than not, the average Joe is probably not going to find it, but somebody out there figures it out, and then they
yeah.
probably tell their friends, and then everybody's saying, "Dude, what are you on about?"
Wait, I'm remembering that now because I did fix the shotgun in one of my playthroughs. I can load a save where I have that actually.
Oh, that's sick.
No, not sick. I forgot about it. I'm a bad video gamer. What can I say? Genuinely.
Oh no, Joel, don't min max your way through this whole thing.
But you solve a puzzle up there, you get a key card. You get another key card when you go and solve the time puzzle in the master bedroom, right? And eventually you're able to go confront Lucas
On his plasma screen TV.
on his plasma screen TV. Before you do that, though, if you're like me, you would have picked up a videotape titled Happy Birthday, and you would have played
Oh
that.
yeah.
Now, my first playthrough with the Happy Birthday thing, it really got under my skin. Like, it was scary as can be, especially when, uh, to explain the Happy Birthday tape, Lucas is grabbing Clancy, the one surviving member of the Sewer Gators, right? And he's putting him into this room. which is a big puzzle room. It is essentially, I hate saying Saw Trap like a billion times on this podcast, but it's essentially a Saw Trap, right? He has to solve a bunch of puzzles in order to escape and live. Specifically, he has to drag a lit candle to a birthday cake and put it in there without it being extinguished by a sprinkler that constantly goes off. Uh,
Except
so,
oil ends up on the floor since you have to grab a crank so you can get the writing onto
yes,
the
I was actually going
code
to
and
talk
turn off the
about
valve.
I was going to talk about that scare. What got me so bad on my first playthrough, because you can actually crank. Usually, at least if you're like me, you wouldn't have solved the telescopic thing where you put the spyglass up to your eye and look at the screens to find the code for the missing dummy's hand. I wound that up beforehand. The dummy put the wind up key in it and saw it move. So I was like, okay, I know what it's going to do. It's going to write something out for me, right? I was not expecting on my first playthrough to put the hand on this thing, give it the quill, and then wind it up for it to grab my arm and carve loser into my. That got me so bad on my first playthrough. I don't know. How do you feel about that scare?
It definitely shocked me too because I did the same thing. I believe most people probably went with that point of
Yeah.
progression because you focus not what's on two steps ahead, but one step at a time as you're
Yes.
piecing this together. And it's sort of this thing that has to do with really good horror. I don't know if this necessarily relates entirely to John Carpenter's Halloween one, but the idea that their creators were coming up with, where you create one thing, like say you're looking at the screen, right?
Yeah.
Create an interaction that happens on one side of the screen and then hit them from the other side. This is kind of like a more figurative way of doing it, where
No, it's exactly
build an
right.
they build that expectation into you of, oh, it's just a writing mannequin, just for it to turn on you and then absolutely
And
like go off the
grab
rails.
your arm and like, yeah, and the game has fully established that you're gonna get maimed a lot already, and it still works because they're doing exactly what you said. They're saying, look at this, it's normal. No, it's fucking not. Hit them from the right when they're looking left. It.
Exactly.
I've also now I don't own a VR device. I don't plan on it because they make me motion sick. Maybe if they get better, and maybe if I get a stronger stomach, I will own one in the future. VR gaming does look cool as hell though. But I've seen a playthrough of Resident Evil 7 in VR. That shit, when it grabs your arm in VR, looks like the most terrifying thing ever. I don't know how people played through that and didn't just throw their headset off and scream. Like, I don't know.
As somebody who owns an Oculus Quest 2, I have
Yeah.
not played Resident Evil 7 VR. I completely forgot there was RE7 VR. I would not be able to approach it, and usually I can handle many horror things, but in VR of all things, Five Nights at Freddy's I think is stupidly goofy, but in VR I get scared. I get so much as scared of an interaction with a giant spider lunging at my face
Yeah.
when I know it's completely fake.
Imagine the clown grabbing you and laughing as it that oh my god, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies already.
I don't think I could even crawl through the bug section with the
Oh my
centipedes on
god,
the
I
wall.
forgot about that. Oof. Or
Yeah,
when Mia's like stabbing you and cutting off your hand. Mm, that
yeah.
shit is rough.
I would actually have nightmares.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for the brief tangent. But you play through the Clancy tape and you realize that Lucas rigged the game. Oil has spilled in, the door's closed behind you, the cake explodes, and Clancy burns alive. Poor guy, honestly. You feel really bad for him if you play the DLC as well, because you get to see the hell trip he had with the bakers. He survived for a long, long time, and then Lucas finally got his ass. And it's sad.
Oh,
Uh,
it's terrible.
yeah. But you go afterwards, after viewing this tape. You're prepared for Lucas's Saw trap, and you go, and you expect to go immediately to that room. But Lucas is a dick, and he has a wild goose chase for you to go on. You put in your key cards and you start going through, and you notice first and foremost tripwires, or you don't notice it if you are rushing through, speed running. And I think the game has conditioned you at this point to, when there are no enemies, to start running. Like, you're not just walking and creeping down, you're moving as Ethan, usually. and then it immediately breaks that conditioning and hits you with an explosion. What do you think about the tripwires, Jack?
I think they're an interesting little contraption to flip the script on its head. As you mentioned,
Yeah.
the conditioning of running in this game when there's no physical presence, it goes back to what we were saying. Lucas is a masterful, more indirect attacker
Mm-hmm.
than any other enemy we've seen at the game. And so it makes this segment really buy into that idea of, yeah, he's not physically there, but he's still highly dangerous with his
And he
mind.
can hurt you. Yeah.
Exactly. He's still got ways to hurt you even when he's not in the same room as you. And
And
so it kind of it gets a bit annoying to like have to crawl around these tripwires, but not not unnecessarily annoying. It's the right kind of annoying where
yeah, it makes it fun, but also very annoying. Especially if you're like me and Marguerite cost you a lot of ammo. Like I was stockpiled. I had 30 shotgun shells and like 50 handgun bullets or something crazy. By the end of that fight, I had like 5 shotgun shells and 10 handgun bullets. So you can't just
absolutely.
shoot. Yeah, so you can't just shoot the shit out. You just have to crawl and wait.
Well, and even if you shoot this stuff out, I love how it brings in this idea. This is what the benefit of the tripwires, right?
Yeah,
It's when you do stumble upon molded enemies and you didn't just immediately shoot out tripwires, you could say, "Oh, wait, let me
I can
conserve
use
some
these.
ammo." Yeah, let me go
Yeah,
ahead and bait them into the tripwire. And so it kind of rewards you if you think a bit more master mindfully
and
too.
playing carefully. Yeah, it's good design. One thing I will say that annoyed me with the molded in the section is I don't know what to call them other than like the liquor molded, where they're on all fours and they're kind of acting like, liquors from RE2. Uh
Yeah, just crawling around and flopping all over the
Crawling around
place.
and jumping and doing a shitload of damage. I had gotten every steroid at this point that was possible to me. I had mastered the art of the blocking, and still, like one hit on me was taking a third of my HP bar. It felt like it was crazy.
Oh, it was something ridiculous. I didn't
Yeah,
like that enemy.
I mean it's good for tension, and sometimes when it's used like on its own, it's fine. But when it's put in with a bunch of other things, it is annoying as hell. Uh,
Do you know what's even more annoying though?
what?
The explosive troll boxes.
I was actually gonna get to those because you end up crawling through right for a little bit. And eventually, before you get to this keypad, there is an explosive troll box where you normally, unless you're me, you're knifing boxes. I, for some reason, started shooting boxes. Even on my first playthrough, I was shooting boxes. It could be because I saw a YouTube video and I remembered it in the deep recesses of my mind, but I wasn't like actively thinking about it. If that makes sense. I just was like remembering, oh, the guy I watched shot boxes, so I'll shoot boxes too. I don't know if you can actually distinguish the troll boxes from regular boxes.
I could not figure out a way to. So in this level, I just had it in my head. Okay, I'm just going to start shooting boxes.
Shoot boxes, yeah. But it's another way that Lucas is getting in your head as a player. He's breaking perceived rules. You're not allowed to run anymore. You're not allowed to treat boxes as safe. Uh, this guy is going to mess with you. And it's why he's a really fun antagonist, especially when opposed to his family. Again, Lucas can't physically hurt you, but he can psychologically mess with you, and he can always reach you with his toys. It's great.
He can also reach you with big fat molded.
True, but we're not. Yeah, we
We
can
don't
do
have to
that.
talk about that. We don't have
Oh
to
no,
talk
we
about that
should.
thing
But
too
I was
much.
going to talk first about how he, again, another troll move from Lucas. You get to the happy birthday area, but there's a keypad, and he gives you 3 key cards to try. Key codes to try. None of them are right, and it causes each time a giant piece of rebar to swing to murder you, if you get it wrong. So
Oh, that's right.
yeah. Eventually,
This
though, you do get the
lunatic.
correct key code by fighting in Lucas's little gladiator arena. I had the grenade launcher at this point, so it wasn't like a big deal. You shoot 2 flame grenades at it, you shotgun it. Well, I did shotgun it because it's out of ammo on shotgun. You burner it for. I had 250 burner ammo. I had 0 after that. You burner it until it dies, and then that's that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't really use a flamethrower. I luckily had held on to my shotgun shells. But
Nice.
yeah, that big fat mole. I was like, all right, time to dance around this guy. It's funny how it's more of like some
It's
kind
a
of
mini boss,
rodeo.
right?
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
rodeo mini boss with the lights going off and
The
all
music
the.
choice is very interesting as well. Like he's blasting some like metal music. Lucas is kind of a dork, and that's what I like about him too.
Oh, he's just an absolute nerd. Like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, he thinks he's so cool in his mind,
like
and he's just some Joe Schmo who thinks he's higher than thou.
yeah, exactly. I don't want to call him an incel, but he's kind of got that incel mentality, you know? I don't know. He gives me major Reddit vibes. Like he mods Reddit kind of thing, you know? It's fun though. It's like
No, in my mind, I mean, yeah, he kind of looks like a redditor in a way, but also he just
no, well,
seems
he's too skinny to be a Redditor, let's be honest. But
true,
secondly,
true. But he looks anorexic. But also at the same time, he's just an absolute dweeb. He's the
yeah.
kind of guy who, if you probably got into a conversation with him, would be like, "Oh, by the way, have you ever heard of Magic the Gathering? Let me go ahead and explain to you the history of the Planeswalker."
Oh, oh no. Yeah, I know the type. 100%.
Dear
He
viewer, I have gotten into Magic the Gathering a bit lately, so I am one to talk.
I'm out. No more relapsing for me. No card games. No more. Those games
This
are
is your
shit.
guys' fault. My friends, when I moved away back in middle school, they were high in the Magic the Gathering. I would come back and I'd try and figure it out. Never could get it. Then one day, I decided to play against my girlfriend, and then she got really into it, beat
Yeah.
my butt, and I wasn't about to have that.
So you had to get good.
I had to get good.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you're into Magic the Gathering, and I am no longer into it because I realize that's a money trap, and I'm scared of it.
Well, that's why I stick with precons. But I digress.
Yeah.
We're not building decks here. We're not doing any of that. We're here to solve puzzles
We're
and
here to solve puzzles.
and avoid saw traps. And if I say saw trap 10 more times, it's gonna have a Beetlejuice effect, and it's called Saw Kramer himself.
Please don't. Oh no. He won't. You appreciate your life, right? You like living.
Maybe. I don't know. I'd kind of like to ride a carousel.
No. Have you done any crimes lately?
Uh, can't say I have, but
Then
hey,
you're fine. You appreciate life.
I
You haven't done any
appreciate life.
crimes.
I
He's not gonna
appreciate life.
grab you. You know.
I escaped from this escape room that Lucas put me in.
Yeah, true. And he knows then that you appreciate life. So Lucas puts you in the escape room that murdered Clancy. To end our digression. And since you already have prior knowledge, you're able to just cheat the puzzle straight up. You skip every step, put in loser, grab the drain, finish the thing, and Lucas gets so pissed that you were supposed to die that he throws dynamite at you. It's a fun scene. Ethan goes a little action hero and he puts the dynamite back where Lucas is, sort of returns to center and runs away. It's cool. Blows open a passage. Nice little scene. I liked it.
It's kind of Looney Tune-ish.
Yeah, honestly, you can call Ethan Winters Bugs Bunny.
I feel it's so funny how it's a stick of dynamite with a bomb on it.
Yeah, no, it again, you pointed out that this game can be pretty funny at times, which I totally agree with. It's got the B movie charm. With like stuff like the stick of dynamite or how over the top gross it is with the Lucas cutting the pig's head off and shoving the fucking snake down there, you know? Or Jack saying groovy, baby, you know? There's stuff like that that has an air of fun to it while still being in like a scary fucking game, you know?
Yeah. I have another Ethanism from this.
Oh,
When it comes to the candle game and Lucas is introducing the game, Ethan just simply responds, "Kiss my ass."
kiss my ass. Dude, I love him. He's so weird. Also, wait, I wanted to point this out. I forgot about this. In the workshop, this is why Ethan's a freak, okay? Ethan does not react to the gore filled Saul thing when he's walking in, but in the workshop, he goes, "What the fuck?" or something like that. Like he's grossed
I
out.
know.
And I'm like, Ethan, what
Now
are
you
you
say
talking
that?
about?
Now you say
Now
that,
you say
Ethan?
that?
Come on, Ethan. Where was your head? It's not in the
But
game.
It's not in the game, brother. Brother, you've lost the plot. You've lost the sauce. Just
You've lost sauce, but you got it back. You got it
but you
back and
got it
chuck that
back.
dynamite back into the wall, blow
Yeah,
up an opening, and of course Lucas decides to run out. But you manage to see his elaborate schemes and all the posters and
hmm
cameras he has of all his doings with his like quote unquote fetish footage. But
yeah.
you
He
find
would
out.
totally make snuff films, by the way.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. In fact, the video recording was a snuff. The happy
yo,
birthday
yeah,
tape was a snuff tape.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but you finally find the two women in your life,
Mia and
Mia and
Zoe.
Zoe, chained up in some kind of barn house. To this
Yeah,
point, you know, not much happens in between those 2 points. You step out into the swamp and you gotta
you shoot
work your
some
way across
things,
the bridge, shoot some things. You get there, but we made it. The final
and you get
segment of the Baker
one of the
estate.
coolest boss fights in the whole game, in my opinion. What do you think
Oh
about this
my
boss fight
gosh.
coming up?
Jack Baker himself makes his triumphant return, and I
Third
love it.
phase. Yeah, it's cool. He takes on this big molded appearance, and we were talking a little bit about this yesterday. But the expectation and what he wants, and the dialogue he says, he's like, I was supposed to be her father. You are not supposed to be her father. Stuff like that, you know? The role that he is taking on, that he wants, well, wants, because he doesn't really want this. Evelyn is influencing him with her ideals of society and patriarchal norms. Uh, he is pushed to be this huge monster, distorted beyond all human shape and form, molded into almost. I love the creature design for Jack here because it's really pathetic looking, honestly. It's not scary, it's sad. Seeing his face, it's like dribbling goo and it's half distorted, small and large eye. And he's sort of turned into this long alligator thing as well, which is cool. Just from a visual thing. Like he looks kind of like a swamp puppy, but not really. Uh,
Well, and also just the way his voice is too, it sounds
yeah,
like he's wallowing in some
yes,
kind of pity for himself.
exactly. His voice is
And
distorted and broken.
uh, oh, it is. I must ask, what is it with the Resident Evil games? Like at least the new ones, right? What is it
Yeah.
with the new Resident Evil games and using these yellow eyes on different parts of the body?
Well, I think mostly it started with this game because this was the newest one that brought it out. But it's just a good way to describe crit spots. It's also a symptom of jaundice, yellowed eyes. Uh, and jaundice is. Hold up, let me just fact check myself. It's a condition, yeah, whites of the eyes here yellow, and it's by Rubin that is affected. But it's essentially a very quick way to communicate infection, essentially. You can tell somebody has jaundice based on the yellow of their eyes and the spots on them. And they're fucked, usually, if they have that. In the Civil War, people would cut off legs if it was jaundiced or whatever, or had gout. It's just a quick way to communicate that, that you're sick. It also works really well, in my opinion, as critical spots,
Yeah,
Uh,
I do like it, especially as you shoot them out and then
they're
they
fun to
become
shoot.
red and close, and you're like, okay, time to go for a different part of the body.
Yeah.
Can't just
But
aim at
yellow
the same
eyes
one.
is just generally a common way to communicate sickness. It doesn't have to just be jaundice, but in media, it's just the quick way to say this person is definitely sick and not normal.
Interesting. I like that. And of course, the boss fight starts out with you finding the two lovely ladies of your wife or life.
Yeah.
One's your wife, one's not. But you get the serum going, and of course, only two serums can be made. Oh my gosh, how
Oh my
unfortunate!
god. No, it's
Oh my
fortunate because there's
gosh.
only two people who are infected, so it's fine, right?
Right, you're right. It works out. It works out. Then Jack tears open the wall and grabs you, and you
Yeah,
have to
and you
do a
shoot him.
two floor boss fight, dodging around. I thought it was pretty solid. I like the
It's pretty
chainsaw fight
fun.
more, but it's
Oh, the
it's pretty
chainsaw fight
solid.
is mechanically better, but this one I like for the spectacle because you're like shooting him. He's huge. You set the barn on fire. Not
I
the barn, but the
agree.
thing on fire. It's just a cool ass fight.
I do agree. I do love the line where Jack or Ethan goes, "This is getting old, Jack."
Yeah, dude. I love him. He's a freak, but he's also American badass. I love him as American badass when he's talking. It's why Resi 8 is disappointing to me, but I love Ethan Winters as a protagonist because he just has some of the worst one-liners, but they're so cool when he says them.
Well, I think it works out because he has the worst one-liners, but he's facing this deranged swamp family.
Oh
Whereas
no, I'll
in
say this. This is getting old, Jack. That's a banger line. That's not a
that
bad
is a
line at
banger
all.
line. It's
That's
like,
just
all right, time to lay you to rest. I'm sick of your shit.
yeah, I'm sick of your shit, bitch.
I love the fight, and I love how it ends with him grabbing you and being forced to use one
Use
of
a
the
serum.
serums. Yeah, and he
Okay.
he he turns into
And
the
here's where we
crystal.
get yeah, he calcifies and dies. Except not because in the DLC he comes back, but whatever. We don't have to talk about that
Real?
yet. Yes, in the end of Zoe, Jack Baker comes back, but he's mostly dead. He's like brain dead. Um, he turns into like this swamp thing looking creature, and then you punch him to death. It's very fun.
Interesting. This man cannot be put down.
No, he cannot. It's all. I think it's the Marine upbringing. You know, can't
Probably.
go down.
Oh my gosh. But
Anyway,
yeah, you get out of the barn.
and we
You
get
go up.
to, at least in my opinion, the weirdest part of the game.
Oh
This
yeah,
is weird.
I had no idea how to take this scenario. Walking up and realizing there's only one serum left, and both girls look at you, and you have to make a choice between which one to save, Mia or Zoe, and take with you. When I was left with that decision, man, it almost seemed like a mobile game ad. I'm not gonna lie, where you have two like
Yeah,
enchanting women staring at you pleadingly. Oh, like I like heads almost touching each other, and they both looking like so pitiful.
yeah, it's weird because the game undercuts your choice. You're only supposed to pick Zoe. Not Zoe, I'm sorry, Mia. Like
Mia.
that is the canon choice of the game, but you can pick Zoe. But if you pick Zoe, you get the turbo hell ending. Like you get the bad ending. TM. What did you pick, by the way?
Oh, of course I picked Mia. Well, I mean, like, I went through hell and back to find my
Well, my
wife.
wife. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Zoe. Like, I know you found the head, but also you didn't show face this whole entire game until now.
Yeah. For curiosity's sake, this playthrough, viewers, I picked Zoe, and I got the
How'd that
bad
go?
ending.
How did that go?
Oh, you know what's really crazy? You know what's really crazy? And this, I don't know why they did this. This choice seems weird. If you're going to have a choice, don't just fucking undercut it. That's one thing I will criticize this game for, right? Games don't need choice at all. I hate the idea that like narrative games need to have choice. Like, oh, the Far Cry needs to have the just leave ending. No, it fucking doesn't. A story needs to happen in the game. You have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. These characters are characters first and foremost, not vesicles. Sorry, I'm doing too much MCAT. Vessels for you to insert yourself in. Now, a good game story will have the characters be characters, but also allow you, the player, to be reflected in it a little bit, and that can be through elements of choice, or that can just be through talking to the player and involving them in meta commentary, like with MGS2. I love that game. Uh, point being, I picked Zoe. We go on the boat ride, like with Mia, except Zoe turns into a calcified thing as soon as we hit the boat. She calcifies and turns to dust and gets ash babied, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then you wake up as Mia, somehow, miraculously, at the ship. I don't know how she got there. Game doesn't know how she got there. She just got there. And she does the same segment, except for after a certain point, which is really depressing, which we'll get to after we get through the ship segment.
Oh boy, jeez.
It's
I
unironically dog shit. I hate this choice.
I
If it's a nothing
here's my
choice, don't let
theory.
me. Yeah.
Here's my theory on it. I think the developers I feel like somebody probably said something about like, "Oh, we should do this really cool choice segment," but the story
Mhm.
writer probably had it made up in their mind how they wanted it, and so they're like,
Yeah.
"Mm,
Okay, so I'll just
okay."
make it the bad ending then.
exactly. It was probably just a case of screw that guy. Like, come on, we're playing as Ethan Winters. This is not the player's story. This is Ethan's story.
Yeah, yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, he's gonna
No,
save his wife.
there's a fun anecdote. Not to take it too off topic, but something like that happened with Spec Ops: The Line when it was being developed. One of the writers desperately, I think his name's Walt Whitman, desperately did not want to start the game with a helicopter scene and the helicopter crash. He wanted that to come when he had it in the story, but they wanted him to start that. So he's like, fine, the helicopter crash can stay, but in my interpretation, they all die in the crash, and now Walker's in hell, kind of thing.
Oh
And
gosh.
he leaves enough in the story to make it work that way because he was pissed off that he had to include the helicopter crash where it was. It's like it's fun stories like that. You know what? I think you're right. I bet you that there's a story in the Konami boardroom. Uh,
Capcom, not
Capcom,
Konami.
sorry,
Capcom.
playing Silent Hill 2. My bad. It's really good, guys.
I like to think that's what happens, but of
Yeah.
course you end up making your decision, and it's pretty comedic how Zoe. Well, maybe not necessarily comedic. I use comedic a lot as a word.
No, it is kind of comedic. It's
It's
weird.
just it's it's weird. Of course I chose my wife, Zoe. Why are you freaking the fuck out? Of course I don't want you
and
to be molded, but at the same time,
and you said you have one, and then you told me to use a serum on your dad. That was yours that you asked me to use in my mind.
it's like that was your free handout, Zoe. Come on, like
Yeah.
I love how she goes, "Fine, I'll just stay here. Leave me."
It's
Like,
very,
okay,
very campy, and I think it's on purpose. It feels B movie. I like the
probably.
Mia run, by the way. I like that part, and I think it is meant to be. It's just the Zoe one. It's just so fucking what the fuck, man. You know?
Yeah, it was probably the writers saying, "Nah, that's not how this is gonna work."
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to talk a little bit about the ship? Because I don't have much to
I
say other than
I can start out the story beats and definitely get the setting going. I'll take it from here because I know you don't like this part. I think it's fine. Uh,
it's mid
personally,
at best.
personally, I think it definitely was necessary to answer a lot of questions.
Sure.
And I do enjoy the cutscene how you're on the boat, just awkwardly sitting there with me across from you, like a foot away.
Hmm.
Like you want it to be romantic, like oh, good guy saved the girl, and they're gonna like ride into the sunset. But no, like there's still
No,
a
I
lot
like
of
the awkward boat
questions.
ride.
I do
Yeah.
too. There's still a lot of questions to be answered, of course, and Mia, of course, does not have those answers because she doesn't really remember it. But you don't have much time to interact. You get attacked by the swamp thing,
Yeah.
and you get tossed overboard. And I do like this aspect. I mean, say what you will about having to play as Mia, but I love the introduction to playing as Mia, where you wake up in the mud and you look down and you see her reflection in the water.
That's cool. It's a
That
cool little
was
detail.
it was such a cool detail to like have her stare back at herself and have to pick up and go find Ethan. And of course, he gets taken by Molded.
Mhm.
Now you gotta explore the ship. This answers a lot of the questions surrounding the game, and
Yeah,
of course, uh, you ascend uh, this giant broken in half cargo ship, wondering how it got there. What the heck is this thing? Like, how did this end up in the swamp? Right, this big ass thing. Ascend the floors. You're back to square one. You don't have any weapons. Uh, but then you get confronted by Evelyn. Now that you're understanding now what people who get infected by Evelyn start seeing,
yeah.
she's in their mind. You understand? It starts to make more sense as to why Mia was acting the way she was at the beginning of the game. And so you
It
play
spells
back
out
the
a lot of
videotape.
things.
Yep, you play back the videotape. You get a lot of the answers to how you ended up in this scenario, what happened to the ship, it being a secret weapons development on board a
And
cargo
Mia was
ship transport.
a covert scientist slash kind of Ada Wong special agent a little bit with how she handles a machine gun. You know, I wouldn't say she's like Ada Wong level of like skilled or anything, but she's definitely more skilled than the average scientist. Let's be completely real.
Oh, absolutely. She's
Yeah,
overqualified if that's the case.
yeah. Uh, my problem with this segment is not the location. The ship is kind of cool. I like the swamp growing up through it. It compounds. One, we're missing a major antagonist here. Evelyn, to me, sadly, is not scary. It's a ghost girl. She gets up in your face, does ghost girl things. I've never really found that scary, aside from maybe once in Fear. Fear did it okay. Like, and I got spooked a little bit.
I yeah, when it comes to children, like ghost girls, I am personally not scared by them. Maybe it's because I am not parental. I have no spouse or child, so of course
Yeah,
I don't feel that distinction of I mean, I understand kids are seen as these pure things, and then when they're evil or
they're little
possessed,
devils. Let's be real.
they are. It's I mean, literally like throughout this entire level, I it's just so hilarious how they just call her a little bitch.
Yeah, she's a little shit, man. Like that's essentially all you scamp is running through my head when I look at Evelyn.
It's just, they
You
literally
know?
flat out call her a little bitch.
Yeah, yeah. It's good. That's one thing. We're missing an intimidating aura of like Jack Baker or Marguerite or even Lucas. He's not as intimidating as the two, but he has some presence with, the traps and all that. We're missing that with this segment. Two, the molded here, I really dislike. They work for me on an environmental level. Them being a part of the house fits so well. It makes them so scary because they're the mold growing up in the house, right? They're a feature of the environment, a feature of the swamp. They don't make sense here for me. They don't feel like they fit. They feel like they were taken from a different horror game and just pasted into here, an environment that does not suit them and does not want them, and it does not make them scary. It makes them look goofy. Uh,
On a similar note, though, I mean, why the hell, you know, they're not meant to be there. Evelyn's a
yeah,
child. She's not. Why is she on a tanker, right? That she's not meant to be there. She's
she's a
very
biological
much
weapon, though.
exactly, but as a kid, she's not meant
Not
to
meant
be
to be
there.
there. No,
She's throwing her toys around. They just, in this goofy setting without a care. It's just she could care less for a sec. She's just throwing out her toys.
No, I actually really like that reading. It makes it feel a little bit better. I just think as a game designer, for a game as tight as this and as terrifying as this, to get rid of that entirely, it does not feel good. It feels like we're playing a lesser game. And it's not as bad in the ship because of that reading that you have. But when we get to the quarry, I wish they cut that entirely from the game. Honestly, I hate that quarry segment so much.
Well,
Uh,
we're not at the core yet.
True, but we are talking in general here.
In
Uh,
general, yeah. I mean, definitely this part of the game feels a bit lackluster. And I mean, it's because it's the exposition part of the game. You've been
the
in this
exposition is good
anticipation
though.
so long. The exposition is good. I do agree. I think the story aspect is good. Just the gameplay definitely takes a back burner here.
It could have
But
been great gameplay wise if they didn't give us that fucking machine gun. We'll talk about it, but
I mean, hey man, all the women in Resident Evil have to have a machine gun.
yes, but the machine gun doesn't sound good. Okay, it doesn't feel good to shoot, and it trivializes the game. It makes it not scary anymore. So you give me a gun that I fucking hate shooting, but it's the best tool. All right, and I shoot the monsters. They're not scary. I'm not scared. I'm sitting here. I'm mostly bored throughout this whole thing, except when they put me in a cutscene. And for a game that was having me be engaged the entire way through, every piece of gameplay, I was locked the fuck. And then for this to happen, it's awful. It makes me hate this level, you know?
Yeah, I think it just depends on what kind of player you are. And also, I will also give one last argument, not that it's the strongest, but because of this giant exposition dump, you there's no longer the fear of the unknown. You have an understanding of all these things. They could
Yeah,
definitely keep
but
trying to introduce you to horrific things, but I think the main antagonist pulling the strings. Essentially, you've stripped away like their main toys. You stripped away Jack and Marguerite and Lucas. Now it's just a kid at the end of the day throwing a tantrum.
I like the kid throwing a tantrum part. That's fine. And I don't think that that should necessarily be scary, but you can save that for the end boss, which is not scary, but it's cool in a good way, you know? Uh, I
Right.
think
I
here is
I
where
like the remote
because like
bombs
here
a lot.
they are
I
fun,
just want to
and
say that.
I'd be genuinely cool if the level just gave you that shitty handgun and the remote bombs. Like that would be perfect for me. The machine gun is a problem, at least gameplay wise for me. Like it trivializes everything and it makes it feel not fun anymore. Uh, as for your point about no longer fearing the unknown, yeah, sure. But like to bring it to SH2 remake, I know what the mannequins do. They still scare me, you know. They still
Yeah.
hide in creative ways. I know what they are. Still scares the shit out of me, you know. So I don't know. It's a it's a tough level for me. I'm sorry,
That,
Resident Evil 7. You're still perfect, but
that's fair.
this shit sucks.
Quick aside, the mannequins
Yeah.
get scary. They don't just hide in the corners. Wait till you get to the prison.
I've heard that they crawl on the walls. I'm not ready for that, dude. I'm
Dude, it is. I know this is a bit of a side, dear listener, but oh my gosh, in the
they're
original,
here for us, not for the
they
game.
they could not pull that off on the original. And when I stepped into
Yeah,
that prison and I started hearing crawling on the walls, I was expecting the invisible segments. They don't do
yeah.
that, but I just get jumped by these crawling mannequins that are like spider-like on the walls, and it just completely changed how I perceive them. And it's just,
They okay. One
oh, it's
thing that
so
I need to
horrifying.
ask: they do the staircase, right? The staircase bit where you walk down the staircase for ages in the historical society.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we win. We
Even
win.
even dude,
Staircase bros, we're still back.
I cannot, bro. That whole segment just makes me claustrophobic. I don't feel claustrophobic,
Yeah,
but not knowing where the end of the tunnel is just ugh.
yeah,
I,
grody.
yeah. But with
Anyway,
Resident Evil
back to
7,
boring level.
back to boring level. Well, I mean, you do the whole level thing. You do the gaming, and then you find Ethan covered up.
Yes, and now I can talk about this shitty fucking ending, dude. Okay, so it plays out exactly the same between Mia and Zoe, right?
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Up
hang
to
on
this
now.
point.
Hang on now. Hang on now. Don't you forget the Jack and Zoe interaction in Ethan's mind as he changed back to his
Oh, true.
POV.
That's very important. We'll touch that right now. Uh, that sounded wrong. We will touch on that right now. We're not touching the scene. Uh,
I don't even know how you
uh
could do that.
ho- hopefully never. Look, guys, I'm not Weinstein. I
I'll put you out of your misery. So yeah, you switch to Ethan again.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. You're you switch to Ethan, and this time he's unconscious at this point. He's wrapped up in a bunch of mold. He's now infected by Evelyn. Like she's in his head. But you get this neat little interaction with Jack and Zoe in their living room. Jack tells you
Yeah,
to save his family and that he's sorry and for what Evelyn is and has done, and says his whole family like they all meant well. Maybe
yeah,
now we talked. Yeah, I think they're kind of turning a blind eye to Lucas.
they definitely are.
It's
But
yeah, it's interesting how it's just Jack and Zoe though. No
yeah,
Marguerite.
no Marguerite. That is interesting to me as well. And I think it's because they were the most sane infected, if that makes sense. Uh
That definitely Zoe.
definitely Zoe and Jack, I would argue, is more sane than Marguerite. Marguerite is like constantly yelling in rage, like that. Uh fully given in, accepted the gift and all that. Jack to me strikes me as more in control of his faculties, even by the end. You know, he's doing things like cutting your leg off and then giving you a healing bottle and saying this is going to be fun, right? He's there mentally, and Lucas isn't there because he's not dead.
That's true. But I mean, well, of course, I haven't played End of Zoe, so I can't comment for sure. But I don't think she's technically dead. I think she's just in a dying state, right?
True, she's calcified or whatever. It's some mumbo jumbo by fake biology, but it's cool.
Interesting. I mean, either way, it's a nice little exchange having to that you're somewhat getting comforted by your attacker.
Jack.
It's
Yeah. No, and it builds sympathy for them. which is important because you were already getting these sympathetic glimpses into the monsters. Like you could see their humanity, and now it comes fully to fore, and you can fully feel that like human element in them, and that these were people, and they had a family, and that they've been corrupted and perverted by this outside influence that has childlike ideas of what a family should be, of what men and women should be. It didn't allow for any nuance. It didn't allow for any individual expression. Uh, it sort of molded them, for lack of a better word, into this fake family and this fake ideal of, well, a nuclear family to an extent. And you could maybe see that as commentary on the whole idea of the nuclear family kind of thing, because that doesn't work for all people, right? But we as a society pretend that that is the only thing that is possible, you know? Two parents, three kids, dog, white picket fence, right?
Hmm.
Uh, well, some people don't want that or can't do that, or it works better if they have different things, right? Uh, and not having Evelyn, we can safely say, not completing that nuclear family for the Bakers would have been much better for them than picking up Evelyn, right?
Oh, by far,
Yeah.
absolutely by far. And so,
Not saying, by the way, that the nuclear family is bad. I have one, and my parents are awesome. My siblings are awesome. You know, it's just not good for all people, and that's fine. And the game might be maybe commenting on that. I don't know. It's a little bit. I'm definitely drawing a little bit too much on it. Like I'm trying to tease it out, but I think the ideas are there. I don't think it's fully coherent with it, if that makes sense. You know?
it's up to interpretation. Now,
Yeah.
personally, I'm going to deter the nuclear proliferation of a nuclear family by deciding to join the priesthood.
Oh, celibacy for you,
Nah,
but you're aren't priests celibate?
yeah,
Okay, so you're not joining the priesthood then.
no, no, that was a joke.
Oh,
Very
okay.
poorly made joke.
No, you said it with full seriousness, and like your face was like stone cold while delivering it. That's some good fucking sarcasm, man.
Thank you. I've been working on my deadpan quite a bit.
Yeah, your deadpan's good. I was confused for a second. You got me. You had me hook, line, sinker.
Appreciate it. I would not I would not be in college if I decided to do that.
Yeah, true, true, true. Oh, you could always be a
But
chaplain.
I could. That doesn't scream me though.
Yeah,
I
I don't think it
digress
does
though.
either.
Full respect to people who go about that lifestyle, you
Oh
know?
yeah, no, no
For,
hate.
forefront of combating possessed demon children. But anyway, you switch back to Ethan being conscious once again, and Mia tears you out of the mold and chucks you out. It's at this
No, she
point.
doesn't. Not if you're playing the Zoe ending. Because in the Zoe ending, she attacks you with a knife, and you crowbar her to death.
Damn it!
Yeah, yeah. That's what happens. Genuinely, you pick up a crowbar and you stab your wife to death. So your choice meant nothing, really. You're just a moron for picking that one, I guess.
What the heck? Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
the Zoe ending, dude.
It's non-canon. We're going off of the canon, Joel.
It is not canon because of End of Zoe, right? But like, come on, man, that's some bullshit, right?
That is some mega bullshit. Oh my gosh. Anyway, in the canon ending,
Yeah, the
Mia
canon
checks
path.
you out and tells you to go stop that little bitch. And so
Yeah,
then Ethan takes his fucking equipment. Or no, he just turns around. He doesn't even have anything at this point. He just turns around and
yep.
goes, time to kill that
And
little bitch.
you go through the quarry. You kill a lot of things in the quarry. It's a fun
Yeah,
little power trip. It goes on too long, in my opinion.
yeah. I will say the only thing I would want to talk about with the quarry is, the overwhelming numbers, sure, but also the like exiting the ship, being right next to the quarry, finding an underground laboratory, and seeing helicopters come overhead. It
Yeah,
feels like a true chaos moment of, okay, something's
shit
happening.
is
I don't know
kicking
what
off.
exactly. Yeah, but I need to act
Yeah,
fast.
and you get some more exposition about how the bioweapon works and what EV-01 is, which is what Evelyn is. She's a bioweapon. She controls people with mold. She kills them that way. You get a full symptoms list. You also get how they were experimenting on her. It's some cool classified documents. Uh,
However,
I
the
didn't
stuff
care at this point. So I just sort of flipped through them and then moved.
I it's nice to get the answer. I mean, it is, yeah, not
Yeah.
entirely necessary. However, the part I did find interesting
Mhm.
was the setup for Lucas and how he's been communicating with the third party.
Yes, that is cool. And they touch on that with the Not a Hero DLC where you play as Chris motherfucking Redfield and go after Lucas.
Yeah, yo, yeah, yo.
Yes, except Chris Redfield in this game, it's cutting Chris Redfield. He was pre bulk. He did not hit his bulk yet. Uh,
No, what are you talking about? He was on his bulk. This was just Chris Redfield decided to de-steroid himself just to nerf himself and have a
yeah,
challenge run.
true.
Even though
Less
he can
steroids.
still like punch molded in the head and completely like destroy them.
Yeah,
He was on a cut. He was on a cut.
he was on a cut, 100%. I do like the Chris Redfield design actually for this game. I wish they kept it for the second one instead of Chris Fridgefield that we got. Dude, he's a fridge in Resident Evil Set 8. Like, it's crazy.
I
I
love
like his
it.
beard in that one. Like, I like his face. His face is good for Chris Redfield. I just had that big, that much man. Like, he went from twink to Uber Bear after that. Like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, what do you expect from somebody who's punched a boulder into a volcano?
True, but in,
And
in Resident Evil 5, he's not even that big. He has big arms, sure, and he punched a boulder, but he's like generally action hero size. He is a fridge in 8. Let me go pull up an image. Hold up.
well, I mean, here's the thing, right? I know we're kind of a bit off topic to
Yeah,
that portion of the game, but to go off of like Chris Redfield, it's in canon, like in RE8, I'm pretty sure it's RE8. They
yeah,
canonically acknowledge he punched a fucking boulder into a volcano.
yeah, true, but like look at this shit.
This motherfucker.
He's huge. He's like he ate Eddie Hall. Like look.
So I love the photo where he's looking down on you.
Yeah. It's he's
Oh
massive,
my
dude.
god.
And like he's ripped, but like Jesus Christ. That's a little too much.
It
A little
is a
too
little
much
too
man
much.
there.
But yeah, the third party stuff with Lucas is a
It's
great way
interesting.
to segue into the next game and set up, even though it's just sort of interesting because you think it into the DLC, right? And the
Yeah.
Lucas DLC, I got to play that for free on PSN, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Navigating the levels that you previously went through, but also checking out some like other parts to it for the quarry and finding Lucas. I can't remember exactly how it ends. I think Lucas just
Uh
ends up getting killed, or he kills
I'm
himself,
pretty positive, yeah.
something like that. He doesn't
Yeah, he
make it out,
dies.
but yeah. I mean, either way, um, it's so interesting to see how I
You actually
like
find a
I like
molded
this.
Lucas in a boss fight. It's cool.
Oh, that's true. I do enjoy how Lucas, even though he's under Evelyn's control, the fact
Hmm.
that he's still doing things for himself, uh, and basically just has her powers, but she has very little control over him, shows how deranged he is and shows how much faculty he has. I think
He
even
actually is.
uninfected, I think he would have been on board for this.
Yeah, no, he seems to be manipulating Evelyn from what he talks about. Like, the reason why he has so much control over her is that he buys into the family aspect and he plays that family aspect against her, playing on her insecurities. It's pretty cool. Like, Lucas is a cool villain. Anyway,
I think it's in true
yeah.
antagonistic sibling behavior.
100%. So, you get through this salt mine. And like it's cool looking, I guess, but fighting the molded at this point is boring. You've got so much ammo and stuff that it doesn't matter. Like you're just mowing through them. And I'm sure some players would really like this power fantasy segment. For me, I don't know, man. If I wanted to feel powerful, I'd play something else, like Far Cry, I guess. Honestly,
Doom, Metroid,
Doom Eternal, 100%. Uh,
absolutely.
Ultra Kill, something like
S-
that. I did
Something
not need
over
that
the
from
top.
Resi 7.
What
Though it
I
is good.
do
Oh,
what I do enjoy about the quarry segment though, I love and we'll come back to your point. I love how the quarry does end up back in the basement.
Yes, that is so cool. I love going back to the old house for the final. I don't have a problem with the ending here. I just have the problem with the quarry up to it. Because going back to the guest house where it all began is such a cool full circle moment. And then Evelyn's getting in your head, showing you the first boss fight of the game with Mia. It's cool. It's like really awesome. And like, especially since it doesn't hurt you that much anymore. You've done this before. You know how to do it. And you go up and confront Evelyn. The quarry is probably good game design, like just in general, in the sense that for most players, they're going to want that catharsis in horror, where they finally feel like the big man on top. I don't think on most audiences, in the sense that I don't need that in my horror games. I kind of want to be scared all the way through, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
then the catharsis is the ending.
Oh, so is the ending, especially as you mentioned, where Evelyn is revealing to you that she was there the whole time through Mia's attack and assault on you.
Oh, it's
And
also revealed that she's the grandma, so that's cool.
that is true. But as you're ascending the stairs, I like how you see Evelyn, and she's saying things along the lines of, "This is your fault.
Hmm.
He doesn't want to be my daddy, then he can die." And then Mia going through the rampage and ending back up in that attic where you got knocked out by Jack, and seeing Evelyn child form there, just doing like a mental burst over and over and over.
Yeah, that was cool.
Um,
It was essentially a quick time event, but it was cool.
I didn't realize because there's no prompting to, or at least I never got one, that I was supposed to be blocking those. So I thought I was like supposed to like simply run and shoot at her.
Were you
And
tanking the damage?
yeah,
Oh, damn. Nice.
well, I never made it through. I got killed.
Oh,
And
not
then
nice.
and then of course the loading screen as I'm about to jump back, it says block her attacks by holding LB. I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers! Now you tell me.
Now you tell me. Yeah. So you get to this final boss, and it's genuinely one of my favorite last Resi fights. Fight is a strong word. You shoot a face as it merges to you, and it's really disgusting. Before which, Evelyn does say an interesting line where she says, "Why does everyone hate me?" It's a really childlike view that she has, because again, she is a kid, even though she looks like a grandma. It's because advanced aging is part of being the bioweapon or whatever. Uh, she's got this childlike conception of the world where she can do what she wants, play with people how she wants, like toys, and then discard them away. And then she doesn't understand why people do not like that. It's cool. It's good characterization. But this wall face that's grotesque, like her, crawls at you. You shoot it a bunch. You grenade launcher it. Then you get thrown out of the window, and you shoot this giant house-sized thing that Evelyn has been growing in. It's a cool thing. The mold finally fully comes into play because that's her body in the house. It's just a cool visual
It's
gag
so
like that.
interesting. Well, and
Yeah.
it's oh, dude, in the mutilation to Ethan's leg as he gets
Hmm.
like stabbed through it, and then falls like 3 stories through the air.
I don't know why they didn't like make you take more damage. By the way, for the falling thing, because like when you hit the ground, there's no like red screen or nothing. It's just like Ethan got hurt in his leg, and then he was fine falling.
It's
I don't know
because
what
he
he's
landed
made
in
of.
mud. He landed in mud.
Well, I do know what he's made of because of Resident Evil 8, but like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, finally, it all comes together. Somebody over an intercom of a helicopter throws down a package
Chris
and says,
motherfucking
"Grab
Redfield.
it!" And I cannot stress enough how much I love the fact that it's called the Albert.
It's so cool, yeah. The Albert Wesker.
Oh my gosh. Like, of course, I don't know if Chris really would agree to that name,
Who
but
cares? It's cool. It's good fan
it
service.
it is some great fan service. And so and it's interesting how he calls you over your Apple Watch too. It's
Yeah.
so action over the pack.
Dude, I always called that the iDroid or whatever.
The iDroid.
It's from MGS 5, the iDroid that you have. It is an Apple Watch that you got as well. It's crazy.
Interesting. But yeah, you light Evelyn up, shoot her to hell and back. She
And you get
crystallizes, and
and you
you've
get an
won.
ending.
You
Chris
get an
Redfield.
ending.
And if you pick the Zoe ending, Ethan talks about how fucking depressed he is. That he just got used to losing Zoe, and now he lost her again, and how all the open doors in his life have closed, and he's probably gonna kill himself later. That's
Non-canon, we got Chris Redfield, guys, and me is in the helicopter with you. Yay!
Yeah.
I do like how the game shows to Light in this moment. The first time you've seen Light through
Mm.
like just in one night. This happens in one night. And
Yeah, it's nice
you're
that it starts
flying
with the
away
daylight.
and you see the scenery of Louisiana in the Dolby
And
estate.
it's really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's real
just
life footage, by the way, that they're doing there.
it probably is.
I'm
It
pretty
certainly
positive, like
it
FMV
certainly looks
style.
like it. But yeah,
Uh,
I love the ending to this game. It feels
it's
so
great.
rewarding. And
Anything else?
yeah, and that's RE7, guys.
Yeah, real quick, let's chat about the DLC because I like the
Right,
DLC for this
absolutely.
game. Not a hero we already touched on. You play as Chris Redfield. You hunt down Lucas and the Salt Mines. It's very good. I'm a big End of Zoe fan. If you want more funny Resident Evil 7 content where it's like no longer scary, it's just full B movie, funny movie, uh, this is it. This is it 100%. You play as Joe Baker, uh, Marine vet, probably the best boxer of all time. Uh,
Get
Crocodile
ready, Mike
Dundee
Tyson.
for Louisiana. Oh, he's better than. I'm not going to finish that because I'm terrified that Iron Mike will show up to my house and box me.
Mike Tyson
So
will show up.
we love you, Iron Mike. You're the GOAT. Oh, aside from Muhammad Ali, but like, second GOAT is you.
You have a video game named after you, sir, and we will review it on this podcast.
Wait, there's a Mike Tyson video game?
Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Oh my god, I'm a moron. Yeah, yes, Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I thought it was just Punch Out, dude. I'm
They
not gonna
used
lie.
to, well, I mean, Nintendo chose the Mike Tyson Punch Out title because hey, big name will sell.
Yeah, no, honestly, good on him, and good on Mike for getting the bag there. Uh,
Honestly.
point being,
Oh man. The DLCs though. You said End of Zoe is very fun.
very
I
fun,
enjoyed
very cool.
I enjoyed
It
Not a
also
Hero.
not a hero's great. Yeah.
You were gonna
It
say?
also canonizes the Mia choice because Ethan calls to get help for Zoe at the end, and she gets cured. Also happy ending. It's fun.
Yeah, I do remember reading the in the extras on PlayStation a while back
Yeah,
and seeing the what is it, the artwork for the game, but also Zoe's logs of how she's now living in New Orleans and doing more missing persons reports as well as journalism, I mean, as well as this investigations into the what is
yeah.
it called? I
The
forget.
company or
No,
whatever.
wait, sorry. Yeah, into the company. But wait, I realize now that wasn't Resident Evil 7 I was looking at this at. It was RE8.
Yeah, I want. By the way, Resident Evil 9, if it's gonna come out and if it's gonna exist, make Zoe the main character. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool, honestly. Like, I know Rose is probably gonna be the main character because that's Ethan's daughter and all that. But like, come
Well,
on, Zoe's
Rose
cool.
Rose is set in the distant future.
True, but like the end of 8 has her being like
Oh,
18 or
grown up.
whatever. Yeah, grown
Yeah,
up.
something like that. I mean, I played the Rose DLC and
Is it good? I haven't played it.
it was entertaining. It was my favorite thing in the world because it's just Rose with superpowers.
Yeah,
But I mean, it was entertaining. I liked it. I
fair
I thought
enough.
the ending to that DLC was at least rewarding.
What does it have Ethan come back or whatever?
Yeah, Ethan's there. He's kind of like a guardian spirit for Rose because it goes like through some
Oh,
weird like
that's really
reality
sweet
shift.
though.
It is like well, it's like he even throws. You know how he gives the yellow jacket to Ethan like to
Uh,
wrap Rose up
yeah,
in.
yeah.
He takes that jacket and he puts it back on her shoulders and like helps protect her from the final boss.
Oh my god, dude, my heart. That's so good.
Ethan is
That's
dad of the
amazing.
year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Maybe I wouldn't mind a
Now,
Rose game if they talk about Ethan a lot.
wait, I'm just realizing, Joel.
Yeah.
Chris Redfield is watching over Rose as if that is his daughter.
Well, yeah, because the Redfield line didn't continue on. It's fine.
It's
He
fine.
adopted Rose.
He adopted Rose. They will continue in name and spirit.
Yeah, name and spirit.
Oh, but yes, overall, impressions of this game before we close out?
Goated game. I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. Uh, I would recommend any horror fan that they have to play this game, especially if you like want to think about horror games in a smarter way. This is the game you have to play because it will show you everything it's doing, and it will expose a lot of horror games to be a little bit wanting in certain areas, right? Because this knows the tropes and it subverts them 100%, and it will have you on edge the entire time. It's great.
Absolutely. This game shows you why horror is actually pretty smart with what it does mechanically and also
Mm.
thematically. If you want a good intro horror game, I know we've covered quite a couple horror games on. Well, no, this is the second, but mostly horror games on our podcast.
Yeah.
This is a good starting point. I highly recommend it. I started out with Alien Isolation. That was good, but
Dude, you started with one of the
Resident Evil.
scariest ones, in my opinion.
I know, I really did, but I love Alien so much I looked past it for some reason.
Yeah.
But in terms of pure, like, from scratch horror game franchises, Resident Evil 7 was my entry point, and it was good.
I
Well,
would
RE2 technically, but RE7 definitely got
RE7
me
as a
hooked.
good first one, I would recommend. I'd also say if we're picking like the Resident Evil series to start with, Resi 7's a great starting point too. It's
Oh,
either that or 2
absolutely.
remake. That's the only two choices in my opinion.
I
Because
agree.
4 remake is too actiony and it doesn't give you a good idea of what the series is. Even though 4 remake is genuinely near perfect. I love that game.
I love that game a lot too. But no, RE7 is a distinct it's like its own individual story.
It's bespoke, yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I cannot emphasize enough how much I love the subversion of horror tropes and also just the sounds and the utilization of the environment. It's all so good. It just they took a whole bunch of ideas and they just meshed it together in the right way.
In the perfect way. Yeah, 100%. Well, I believe that's all. We'll be signing off from the Louisiana Bayou. Do you want to give them a hint about what we're doing next?
All I can say is that it's gonna make me feel somewhat lost and claustrophobic.
Oh. Mm-hmm. I would say that it makes me feel sad. That's how I feel.
Sad?
Yeah, sad and alone.
I honestly have no idea what I'm going to get into with our upcoming game. I've never played it. I don't know anything about it. I just got gifted this game by Joel,
Yeah.
saying, "Here, play this." Okay, buddy, I'll do that. I have
It'll
no
be
clue what I'm in
interesting.
for.
It'll be interesting. Anyway, this has been the All Nighters 2. For an extended ramble on RE7, join us again when we ramble about more games that we like. I am your host, Joel, and with me, your other host, co host, if you will, Jack.
Hello,
Any closing words, Jack?
hello. Yeah, yo, yeah, yo.